In Mokbo, Si-chul's fists are the law. Si-chul can quell a riot with just a word. But when a little girl dared to teach him a lesson in the crowd, Si-chul not only did get angry, but also fell in love at first sight. Because of this girl, the king of the underworld decided to do something crazy, which was to become a politician. Previously, due to the pressure of life, Si-chul and his brothers formed a gang. They relied on their fists to create their own sky in Mokbo. But until now, Chul has never admitted that he is a gangster because he has never done bad things. Si-chul shouted that he is not a gangster. Si-chul cursed them as gangsters. Si-chul thought that these guys were free and had to cause trouble here. They just wanted to rely on this place to get more money. Si-chul ordered his men to push them all out and called them a bunch of thugs. But a sudden slap from a girl made Si-chul freeze on the spot. Si-chul had been in the underworld for many years and had fought countless battles. He had always been the one to teach others. He had never been taught by a girl before. Her ferocity did not make Si-chul angry. On the contrary, he fell in love with her at first sight. Si-chul had always been a fierce worker, but now he stopped this riot suppression. Then, Si-chul led his men away proudly. From this moment on, Si-chul was like a demon possessed. Si-chul was fascinated by this girl. Her appearance would completely change this gangster boss. In the future, Si-chul would successfully enter the Blue House. But as a gangster boss, it was really not easy to clear his name. Not only did Si-chul have to let go of the past, but he also had to give up his immediate interests. Even his brothers of many years felt that Si-chul was crazy, but to his brothers they understood Si-chul's personality. Once he decided on something, Si-chul would do it to the end. So his brothers showed Si-chul a path. The reporter on TV was also a gangster like Si-chul, but he had successfully cleared his name and entered politics. Moreover, he had even entered the Blue House. Si-chul went to Bo-yoon's shop to try it out. After finding him, Si-chul directly told him why he came here. Si-chul originally thought that the other party would reject him. Unexpectedly, Bo-yoon gave Si-chul a few suggestions. If Si-chul could persevere until the end, then he would tell Si-chul how to clear his name. First, Si-chul had to learn how to work. It was to give up on solving problems with violence. But when the waiter was beaten by the gangsters, Si-chul didn't expect that his righteous action would not only not receive praise, but he would also be scolded by the shop owner. Just because the owner owed the other party money, after Si-chul took action this time, she was afraid that the restaurant would never be at peace again. Bo-yoon saw this scene and was also extremely disappointed in Si-chul. The request he had just made was immediately broken by Si-chul. He asked why he had left before finishing talking. It seemed that Si-chul still preferred to use his fists to talk. He asked Si-chul to give up that habit and then continue talking. However, the identity of the gangster who was beaten was not simple. He was the half-brother of Kwang-chun, the boss of the Kwang-chun gang. Kwang-chun and Si-chul were rivals to the death, but due to health problems, he was always beaten by Si-chul. Now, his younger brother, who shouldn't have been close, was beaten by his most hated opponent. Kwang-chun didn't dare to seek revenge on his opponent. He was extremely angry, but he could only vent all his anger on his younger brother. He forced his younger brother to lift his butt up. Then he continuously cursed Si-chul. He forced his younger brother to deal with Si-chul, but Si-chul still didn't want to give up. If he had taken a step forward, then he would do it decisively. Si-chul not only helped the restaurant owner solve the debt problem, but he also let his brothers sell all their illegitimate properties. But this led to dissatisfaction among his brothers. One person said that the boss's decision wasn't wrong, but why didn't they try to do something else? Another person complained that all the internet cafes and game rooms were closed. Now there was only one nightclub left to make a living. Even if they don't work anymore, what should the uncles do? They're old and can't work anymore. They should leave them some pension anyway. Seeing the boss's stubborn face, they, as juniors, didn't dare say anything. The next day, Si-chul went to find Bo-yoon again, but Mr. Bo-yoon still refused Si-chul. But Bo-yoon underestimated Si-chul's willpower. Si-chul declared that he wouldn't leave this place even a step. From now on, Si-chul would be a rock and absolutely wouldn't go anywhere. Si-chul told Bo-yoon to just eat his portion. Bo-yoon said that if he did that, he wouldn't be a man anymore. In the end, Bo-yoon was still moved by Si-chul's perseverance. At the same time, he hoped that Si-chul could promise not to hit people anymore. Si-chul promised that if he fought again, he would break one of his own arms. Bo-yoon sighed and said that those were still the words of a thug. Then Bo-yoon asked Si-chul to start from the bottom up. Si-chul had to learn to do some things by himself. First, Si-chul had to go help the people around him and learn the basics of self-reliance. For someone who is a gangster boss, picking up a knife to hurt someone is okay, but asking Si-chul to pick up a knife to cut vegetables is torture. But Si-chul has made a decision, so he will not give up. So Si-chul brought his brothers along to start over, but the juniors basically could not bow their heads. One person person said that if Si Chul did that, how would the customers eat? This person declared that he would not do it anymore. Another junior also complained that he could not live like that. But Se Chul's performance was recognized by Bo Yoon. This also made So-hun respect Se Chul. So Bo Yoon made the next request to Se Chul. Instead of driving a luxury car, Se Chul had to take public transportation like a normal person. That day, Se Chul was traveling by bus. The person sitting in front was So-hun, the person Se Chul had saved before. She immediately recognized this gangster boss. But at that moment, everyone thought that Si Chul and the driver would definitely lose their lives. They didn't expect that Si Chul was so strong. After saving the driver, Si Chul didn't even have time to change his clothes. Si Chul ran to Bo Yoon's shop to help. But even Si Chul didn't expect that his heroic deeds would quickly spread. Reporters swarmed in and surrounded Si Chul. Si Chul, who had never thought of being a hero, was promoted as a hero in Mokpo. It was at this moment that So-hyun's impression of Si Chul changed. Furthermore, because Si Chul worked for Bo Yoon, and Bo Yoon was running for the National Assembly at the time, Bo Yoon's approval rating immediately skyrocketed, surpassing Congressman Choi. As the saying goes, one mountain cannot accommodate two tigers. The Mokpo region can only nominate one congressman. Therefore, Congressman Choi felt threatened. Of course, Congressman Choi would use his usual tricks. Congressman Choi immediately called Kwang Chun, who often helped him do bad things. Congressman Choi said that there was a difficult person to deal with who had recently climbed up the ladder. That person seemed to have no self-awareness. Congressman Choi lamented that this kind of nonsense also wanted to be a politician. Wouldn't the country be in chaos by then? Kwang Chun understood. He said that he would pave the way for Congressman Choi. Kwang Chun also hoped that Congressman Choi would follow the previous agreement. The two of them colluded to do bad things very smoothly. Kwang Chun sent 3 of his gang's juniors. They prepared to disguise themselves as robbers, causing Bo Yoon to be paralyzed on one side due to an accidental robbery. But the behavior of these people was completely different from that of a professional robber. However, Bo Yoon was stabbed and had to be hospitalized. Si Chul was born with a body of steel, so he was unharmed. While everyone was still thinking about finding the culprit as soon as possible, an uninvited guest arrived. It was Congressman Choi. Congressman Choi asked what happened. Why was the candidate injured at this time? Congressman Choi asked him kindly as soon as he arrived. Actually, Congressman Choi wanted to see if Bo Yoon's physical condition could still participate in the election. After confirming that the other party was no longer able to participate, Congressman Choi left with a regretful expression. However, Congressman Choi's clumsy and painful play was obvious to everyone. A fox coming to wish a chicken a happy new year did not have good intentions. Therefore, Si Chul valued friendship and would never give up. The injured person was not only Si Chul's mentor, but they also attacked the person he loved. After knowing that the person who helped Congressman Choi do bad things was Kwang Chun, his life or death opponent, Si Chul naturally wanted to go and punish the other party. Si Chul asked the 3 fat guys supplies if Kwang Chun had sent them. Kwang Chun denied it. He asked Si Chul what he was talking about. Si Chul warned him to call Congressman Choi. Si Chul definitely wouldn't let this go easily. Faced with the power of this hidden emperor, Kwang Chun didn't dare to touch Si Chul at all. Kwang Chun could only watch Si Chul's back as he left. After Si Chul returned to the hospital, he remembered that he had promised Bo Yun that he wouldn't fight anymore. But last night, Si Chul did it. But a man can do what he says. Si Chul wanted to break one of Bo Yun's arms in front of everyone, but everyone didn't bother to stop him. It turned out that because Bo Yun was injured and couldn't run for election, everyone discussed it and they decided to let Si Chul run for Bo Yun's place, because this election was related to the livelihood of many people in Mokpo. Therefore, they couldn't let a traitor like Congressman Choi control the livelihood of the people of Mokpo for the next few years. Facing such a long and difficult task, Si Chul felt a lot of pressure, but Si Chul could not disappoint everyone's expectations. But the political path was not easy. Even those who initially supported Bo Yun felt that this gangster was running for personal gain. They said that the gangster was famous because of the bus accident, but he should still be removed. So Si Chul's support fell sharply. So Hyun saw this and decided to help Si Chul. She went to Mrs. No, who was also running for office. Although Mrs. No's approval rating was only 3%, with her support, the trend of support would definitely change. But when Mrs. No asked why Si Chul was running for office, Si Chul, not knowing the situation, gave an unsatisfactory answer. Si Chul said he wanted to do things that were people-centered. Mrs. No asked what people-centered meant. Si Chul replied that it was to prevent weak people from being bullied. Mrs. No never expected to hear such words from a bully who always bullied the weak. She asked Si Chul what he meant. A man who used to make a living by bullying the weak now wanted to help the weak people that Si Chul used to bully. With such an unbelievable answer, everyone would think he had an ulterior motive. So Si Chul still hadn't gained the other party's recognition. It wasn't until Mrs. No observed Si Chul. Mrs. No saw Si Chul humbly kneeling down and calling an old lady mother that she understood his unknown past. 15 years ago, in order to have a bright future, he and Chun Tek joined a great battle. The two were invincible, repelling each other. Kwang Chun was still his junior. In order to get promoted, he betrayed them. He shouted that he would kill them. Although Chun Tek repelled the other party, when Si Chul finished dealing with them and turned around, he found that Chun Tek was seriously injured. In the end, Chun Tek passed away due to his severe injuries. From then on, Chun Tek's mother hated Si Chul very much, but Si Chul wanted to take care of her. Even though Si Chul had changed and become a good person, she still hated him. Thanks to the protection of Congressman Choi, who was a prosecutor at the time, Kwang Chun was able to escape punishment. But Mrs. No investigated and found out that in recent years, Si Chul had done many good deeds. Si Chul not only helped the poor reduce their debts, but he also often did charity work. In the underworld, Si Chul was a pure gangster. It was really strange. So in the end, Mrs. No decided to support Si Chul and chose to stand with him. When Congressman Choi heard this news, he was not in a hurry. On the contrary, he felt that the other side was just a bunch of cowards. The support for them and his was as different as heaven and earth. But what Congressman Choi didn't expect was that after receiving a phone call from Kwang Chun, he would completely collapse. It turned out that after the three juniors escaped to the Philippines, they were captured by a mysterious group of people. They were questioned if they were the three people hiding in Gwangju. A man introduced himself as Ma Dong Sok from Gwangju. It turned out that Ma Dong Sok from Gwangju had come to take the three people to the police station. Hearing this news, Congressman Choi was furious. He immediately went to find Kwang Chun to settle the score. He scolded Kwang Chun for doing business like this. Did Kwang Chun want him to lose the election? Kwang Chun asked Congressman Choi for some time to settle things. Congressman Choi was furious. He scolded Kwang Chun for being ignorant of the immensity of heaven and earth. In front of big political figures, a gangster boss was just a trash bag for the opponent to trample on. When he was useful, he was coaxed. When he was no longer useful, he was trampled on. But Congressman Choi was not out of options. If Si Chul had him under his control, he had to strike first. While the other side had not yet stirred up public opinion, he sent someone to the police station to get the files. With Congressman Choi's dirty information, the murder of Chun Taek 15 years ago was blamed on Si Chul. Originally, with Mrs. No's support, the number of supporters would increase rapidly. But Congressman Choi's move immediately put Si Chul in danger. So Hun went to question Si Chul why he hid it from them. Why didn't Si Chul tell those stories? But Si Chul didn't want to mention the past. Si Chul promised to handle it properly. In the end, the two parted ways unhappily. But what Si Chul didn't expect was that the media caught wind of it and immediately rushed over, leaving him helpless. At the same time, Congressman Choi's side was also counterattacked. The three juniors who attacked Bo Yun were arrested. The mastermind mastermind behind it was also exposed. Congressman Choi was afraid of being implicated. He was still thinking about how to deal with Kwang Chun when he received a call from Kwang Chun. Realizing the situation, Kwang Chun threatened Congressman Choi that both of them were involved. Kwang Chun would help him deal with the 3 underlings, but the condition was that when the matter was almost settled, Congressman Choi had to pay Kwang Chun a large sum of money. Otherwise, both of them would lose everything. The water was up to their necks. Now was the crucial moment of the election. Congressman Choi could only temporarily agree. On this side, Se-chul very quickly received a threatening video from Kwang Chun. It turned out that Kwang Chun had kidnapped So-hyun. Kwang Chun used her to threaten Se-chul to release the 3 underlings. Otherwise, Kwang Chun would harm her. Se-chul was angry. He directly kicked him, but he did not give up running for election. But before one wave could subside, another wave came. Congressman Choi took the initiative to provoke and try to lead public opinion. Se-chul advised him to be moderate, but a despicable person like him was even more shameless. He said that a gangster told him to be moderate. He asked if Kwang Chun wanted to harm Se-chul's lover, and if he wanted him to stop it. With his poor acting skills, everyone thought that Se-chul's violent nature had not changed. Then he pretended to be hospitalized. He pretended to be innocent and pitiful, but Congressman Choi thought he had arranged everything well. He basically did not care about Kwang Chun. Kwang Chun was so angry that he wanted to kill Congressman Choi to vent his anger, but was stopped by his younger brother in time. Kwang Chun temporarily sobered up. He understood that there was no way back now. He could only go on. At this time, Se-chul was like crazy. He searched for Kwang Chun's whereabouts. As the king of the underworld, he shows his calling ability. With the cooperation of the big forces, Se-chul quickly found Kwang Chun's location. This gambling addict also had to play a card game before leaving, so Kwang Chun was unlucky. He quickly knew what winning means. Losing means losing. Se-chul hurriedly saved the person. By chance, Se-chul saw So-hyun taking the opportunity to escape. Then, Se-chul saw Kwang Chun chasing behind. Se-chul quickly rushed forward to stop him from threatening her. The two of them rushed into a fight for Se-chul. Old hatred and new hatred. He had to deal with Kwang Chun. But even after knocking Kwang Chun down, Se-chul did not deal a fatal blow. Because Se-chul had to turn around, he had to be a good person. Se-chul promised others that he would not hit people again. In the end, Se-chul still did it. Although the current news was all about Se-chul's past as a gangster, but after Kwang Chun was arrested, things changed. Kwang Chun hated Congressman Choi, so Kwang Chun bit him back, accused Congressman Choi of being the mastermind. At the same time, he took out the recording of the conversation between the two. Even Congressman Choi did not expect that a gangster could be so meticulous. He even asked his junior, who was a prosecutor, to destroy all the evidence. But this junior was helpless. His image was also severely damaged. Support also decreased sharply. As for Se-chul, he not only dared to tell the truth, but also faced his past. This not only increased his support rate, but also helped Chuntek's mother feel more relieved. As a Mokbo native, Se-chul spoke to everyone with the most sincere attitude. Se-chul said that he was a Mokbo native. Mokbo was Se-chul's hometown and his parents. If everyone chose Se-chul, he would definitely risk his life to work for Mokbo. Se-chul asked everyone to help him enter the National Assembly. In the end, Se-chul got his wish and received countless votes. From a gangster, Se-chul entered the Blue House. It was no surprise that Congressman Choi lost, because he got drunk and attacked a traffic police officer. He was sent to the police station to live with Kwang Chun.